Hello and welcome to episode 2 of
Mail call.
As you might have noticed, I'm not Milo Dennison. He's here behind the camera, but he decided to sit this one out because he professes no knowledge of Irish cinema, which this
Mail
is going
call.
to be about. So we have a question here, and I'm going to invoke the spirit of Milo, and I'm going to mangle this name. It's Gijo S. Palate. He's sent us in a question, so here we go. It's Hi, I have been wondering why Irish-made films are so underrepresented in European film festivals compared to the Oscars, where Ireland consistently punches above its weight. I don't know any filmmakers other than Martin McDonagh who works in an art house style. If there are any others, could you please list them?
So where is this guy based? Where is he based?
Well, he's
Okay.
based in Dublin,
In Dublin.
but
Okay.
he's from India originally.
Okay,
so-
that's quite interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know, has he something he's noticed before he came here or just since he's been here?
Well, maybe, like, I'm trying to think of a film. I was trying to research films earlier that did make it big in Europe. And it's very hard to find a list of them. You know, like, Wind That Shakes the Barley we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I think it was made by a foreign...
That was
Ken
Ken.
Loach.
Ken Loach.
By the way, this is Aidan.
Yeah,
He's
this
joined
is
us here today as
Aidan.
well.
What about, this is a long time ago, War of the Buttons? I know David Putnam, he's English, but he lives in Cork, so maybe you can claim him half Irish. That was like, I think, the early 90s, War of the
Okay.
Buttons. But in Europe, I mean, I think it was critically well received, but I don't know commercially. See, there's critically successful, and then there's...
Well, I think what our Gijo is getting at is Irish films that have done well in like the big European festivals like Cannes or Berlin or Venice or something like that, you know. And he's right, like, you know, as he said, like we do well in the Oscars. And I think we were talking about this earlier that we tend to be more, we tend looked to England and America more rather than the continent.
So I think we obviously share their language as well,
Yes.
and we grew up with like American films and English films, so you wouldn't be exposed to like French cinema, or German cinema, or any European cinema really, not very much, you know.
Yeah, and I think as well, like for most of the world who aren't making films in the English language, that's their kind of their route to recognition is the kind of through the film festival circuit, you know, particularly in Europe. So, we don't necessarily need to do that. Maybe we try to get, you know, go straight to distribution, straight to cinema, much more so than trying to go the festival route.
I suppose if you look at certain films, say Blue is the Warmest Colour, and that one, it was the Palme d'Or, was it a few years ago?
Oh yeah.
And it was a very controversial film about, you know, lesbian couple. So I think we don't make films like that in Ireland. We're kind of, I suppose, safer in one way. I was talking about a film earlier called Love. It's a bit controversial as well, and a very kind of raunchy film, you know. And in Ireland, maybe we're not pushing the boundaries like the French would, or maybe the Italians that are more comfortable in that. Maybe they would different, slightly more risque tastes than what we would make. So I'm not sure if that's something to do with it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also, you can also point out that we don't really have a film industry in Ireland. You know, like we have film directors who, you know, like Neil Jordan and Jim Sheridan and people like that who have done well, but a lot of them actually they use
American backing or British backing.
British backing,
yeah,
or
yeah.
Film 4, you know, which is very big in the 80s. I was reading an interview with Neil Jordan, and he was saying like he benefited a lot from the funding he got from Film 4 in the 80s. And I suppose it sort of, if you look at sort of the wider economic situation in Ireland, like it goes sort of, you know, boom, bust, emigration, and like hasn't been that investment in the arts. Whenever there's cutbacks, it's the arts suffer, you know. And if you look at like our RTE, the main television kind of channel in Ireland, they have no tradition of actually funding film in Ireland. So it's you have like Ardmore Studios who've been kind of ploughing along furrow, but apart from that, really, you can't say there has been an Irish
It's quite
film
interesting
industry.
because when we talk about the Irish industry, we're talking about films or a series like Vikings coming over, but they're not actually Irish productions. They're American productions or foreign productions that come to film in Ireland. So it's not, we're not actually sending out probably as many Irish films, as we think. But like, what is an Irish film? There's so many co-productions.
What about,
so
like,
many-
what I remember, I think it was 2002, Intermission. I think it was Conor McPherson? wrote and directed it. Colin Farrell's in it. It was all filmed in Ireland, like an Irish cast.
But would you say that was like an art house film?
Yeah, I suppose not. No, well, it wasn't like a big box office action blockbuster, but yeah, I suppose not art house.
But if you think of the big successes like that went to Hollywood, an Irish film, you think of Once. I suppose that was really successful, maybe off the soundtrack, you know, and probably more
But then
successful
again,
than the
like
film.
that went to like the Oscars.
Yeah, it went to the Oscars that
Yeah.
way.
Take-
But I
takes it
wonder,
out.
I'm not sure, did Once do well in Europe? Like, I haven't heard about European.
The
cinema in
festivals,
Europe,
they're not
yeah.
winning the festivals
I don't
pretty
know.
well.
I don't know if it actually as a film. It probably did now, you know. But you know, I think things are changing. You know, you have like Terry McMahon's films now, like Patrick's Day. I think that's actually doing quite well.
And it's funny
in
because
festivals.
we interviewed Terry today, and he's actually going to Paris tomorrow
All right.
with Patrick's Day to promote it. And he was telling us that directors over there, they're treated like gods. You know, they respect them so much. Like they really do really respect the film industry over in France. Yeah.
And again, you posed the question, what is an Irish film? Like, I mean, there was a film that did win Palme d'Or, which was The Wind That Shakes the Barley, which was Ken Loach directed it, but you know that was an English film, but it was like an Irish theme, Irish cast, made in Ireland, set in Ireland. But
The thing is, if it's going to be an Irish film, it can't be like 100% Irish crew. I mean, even if there's an English or American film, you're going to have people who weren't American in it or English. So,
but what makes the film identifiably Irish? Like even getting back to the Oscars, you know, in the short format, Benjamin Cleary, he won the Oscars last year, but he was an Irish director. But you know, he was possibly the only Irish person involved in that film.
But even that film, I describe it, it's set in England, you know. So
Yeah, exactly.
Is that an Irish film?
Yeah.
I like even Room would describe that as an Irish. It's not an Irish film. It just has an Irish director. So it's.
Yeah, that was Irish Canadian, I think, co-production.
Maybe you're right. Maybe our film industry in our like with the homegrown Irish films, like say the French films, are very identifiable. Maybe it's not as strong as, you know, say the French would have the master tradition and the Italians. They're very identifiable, but our film industry is more mixed, isn't it? It's.
Yeah, well, I mean, the truth is, we can't actually think of, you know, anybody, or I mean, apart from like Terry McMahon now. But there are some films. There's a film that we know that Dave Byrne from Underground now they made recently. In View. Yeah, and that's I remember we spoke to him at the Underground Festival, and he said they're actually going the festival route to try and promote it, and I think you know they are looking at the European festivals there as well. You know.
another one, I think Dead Along the Way. Seems to be getting pretty good attention in America.
Is it?
Yeah, the Chicago Irish Film Festival, the Boston Irish Film Festival.
Okay.
But Dead Along the Way, I think it's a Cork-based group.
Is that for the really Irish festivals though? It's doing big, and is it?
Yeah.
More so than regular festivals.
Oh, but then America, like.
Yeah.
Well, there's also a film which I saw at Richard Harris called Cardboard Gangsters, I think it was.
Yes.
And I know it won a festival recently in Manchester, you know.
Yes,
So I don't know, maybe that will go the European route too. But I mean, I think there's there's an explosion in film and TV at the moment, and I think it's harder to get recognised, to get seen. So maybe a lot more films are going to have to go the film festival route.
Well, there is actually talk about art house film. There's a film that was made independently in Dublin, set in Dublin, One Night in Dublin.
Oh yeah.
About couch surfing, and it'll be coming out soon. But who knows? Maybe that might.
Yeah.
It's art house, and maybe that might do well in Europe or America.
Yeah. Maybe it will.
Who knows?
Okay, so I don't know if we answered the question there, but we made a valiant attempt. So, but if anybody has any opinions, please write in. And again, if you have any questions you'd like us to discuss, write in again on Facebook, Twitter, and wherever you find us. Okay, see you next time.